under oath.
Great.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chesterton. You can put your hand down, and Mr. Freeman, you can proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hello, Mr. Chesterton. Thanks for being available today.
Hello, glad to be here.
Okay, do you recall working on a declaration with my office for this matter?
I do.
Let me show you that real quick here. Did you assist my office in preparing this document?
I did.
And is the information in there true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
It is.
Okay, and you're with Rouse Company, correct?
That's correct. Rouse Appraisals LLC is the legal entity name.
Okay. And as part of the assignment in this case, did you prepare a valuation?
I did.
Okay, let me show you what's been admitted as evidence as Defendant's Exhibit 8. Is that the valuation that was prepared by Rouse?
It is.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.
Yeah, Mr. Chesterton, let me stay with that exhibit. We're going to have to pull it up on our computer, so just give me a second here. And I'd like to focus on page 30 of your report. Pull up.
Yep.
All right, I want to look at that fifth paragraph down under the heading Rouse's role in use of the valuation report. And boy, that's very difficult to see on the screen. Can you see it?
I can see it clearly. Yep.
Okay, so as part of your appraisal, did you provide the limiting condition that the opinions expressed in the valuation report are valid only for the express and stated purpose of providing information assistance to the parties to whom the report is specifically addressed, and the values are not in any way implied or expressed to be construed, used, circulated, quoted, relied upon, or otherwise referred to for any other purpose without Rouse's prior written permission? Is that one of the limiting conditions of your report?
It is as written here. That's correct.
And did you provide this report to WJS or STL for the purpose of allowing them to complete their IRS tax forms?
We were engaged by STL Fleet Services. And yes, the intended use was for legal proceedings and tax purposes. So that is correct.
Okay. Did you provide that report to CAST or TCW, my clients, for purposes of helping them complete their tax forms?
We were engaged directly by STL Fleet Services for the intended uses listed up earlier for the IRS and legal proceedings.
Okay, so my clients never retained you to do anything, correct?
That is correct. This was engaged by STL Fleet Services.
Okay, and then the paragraph below that, under the heading estimation only, no guarantee, starting with a sentence, I want to start by the sentence, this values are the appraiser's opinion based on the facts and data specified in the valuation report and are not a warranty or representation of fact nor a determination of probability. As such, the reported values are estimates only. Rouse makes no guarantees as the actual value realizable from the sale of the assets or the price at which the assets may be purchased. So is it fair to say then that the fair market value that you testified to in your report is an opinion and not a fact?
That's correct. by definition of what an appraisal is a professional opinion of value.
Okay. And let's talk about that definition, because you gave that definition of fair market value as well. And that's on page 35 of your report. So can you read that definition for fair market
Sure.
value?
Yes, fair market value, a professional opinion of the estimated most probable price expressed in terms of money to be realized for property in an exchange between a willing buyer and a willing seller with equity to both, neither being under any compulsion to buy or sell, and both parties fully aware of all relevant facts as of the effective date of this report. Additionally, this value is not discounted for assembling, cleaning, security, advertising, brokerage, or any other disposal costs, if any.
So again, you use the phrase opinion in that
Yep.
definition of fair market value, right?
That's correct.
And that opinion is generally based on your prediction of what somebody acting under normal market conditions would pay for a given asset, right?
That's correct.
So if, for example, the real parties to a transaction that actually happens, if, say, TCW is willing to pay $2 million to acquire a set of trucks, wouldn't you say that the fair market value of those trucks is $2 million because that's what a party is willing to pay for it?
Objection, Your Honor. A lot of assumptions based in that statement that aren't being presented to this party.
Overruled.
So to answer that question, Your Honor.
You can answer yes.
Yeah. When we're arriving at, again, as an appraisal of professional opinion of market value, we are looking at all of the available market information that we have at our disposal of similar assets selling. So if the specific assets are sold for $2 million, that would be one data point for us to consider. There are the subject assets under question for our appraisal are fairly common truck tractors that we see transact frequently. And whereas there would be additional market points that as appraisers, we would have a duty to consider as well in order to inform our final conclusion.
Okay, would it be fair to say that it's possible for two different appraisers to come up with two different opinions of the fair market value of the same asset?
Yeah, yes. What I would say is these assets also do have any appraiser who's going to be reaching a conclusion of value would be looking at similar transactions, and these are assets that are fairly liquid and commonly transacted on the secondary market. So I do believe that most appraisers would reach a conclusion that would be similar to ours, is my personal opinion.
Okay, well, let's take a look at page 7 of this report. So let's look at that paragraph that says inspections. You would acknowledge that you didn't actually inspect any of the trucks that were the subject of this report, correct?
That is correct.
So if one of those trucks happened to be in very bad condition, that is a fact that might affect your opinion, isn't it?
That's correct.
And conversely, if one of those trucks was in mint condition, in much better condition than trucks that are ordinarily sold, that also would affect your opinion, wouldn't it?
That is correct.
And if I look at page 13 of your report, right underneath the bar graph, it says Rouse's proprietary database was the primary source for determining the values attributed to the equipment in this report. So are you saying then that the values that you came up with, they were drawn from some database that Rouse maintains that identifies sales of comparable trucks that have already taken place?
That's correct.
You haven't.
Sorry, one additional just clarification. is that proprietary database has comparable transactions of similar trucks that we've seen transact. It also includes information that is publicly available. It's a mix of both publicly available information and also private party sales transactions that we have in our database that we have seen our clients transact.
Okay, and the specific transactions that you looked at to determine the market value of those specific transactions aren't listed or summarized anywhere in this report, are they?
They are not. Those are kept in a working file that we have as part of this appraisal, but are not presented within this report.
Okay, and the market valuation, the market approach to valuation, that was the only basis for your opinion, correct?
That is correct. Looking at comparable transactions of similar assets, of similar make, model, year, mileage, etc.
So you didn't perform a cost approach analysis and you didn't perform an income approach analysis.
That's generally correct. So a little bit further down on this page, as appraisers, you're required to consider all three approaches to value. And generally speaking, then you'll select the one or multiple that are most relevant. In this case, we considered all three and determined that the market approach is the most relevant, given that these are fairly common assets that we see transact frequently. That would be typically the most accurate or reliable method for determining the value of these assets.
And when you were valuing the assets, is it fair to say that you were only considering the value of the trucks themselves and not any specialized equipment that the trucks were outfitted with, like GPS tracking devices or dash cams?
That's correct, just the trucks.
Okay. Do you believe it's possible there could be a value to a buyer in having an entire fleet of trucks available to it that are ready to use in the operation of an existing business that wouldn't be captured in just the value of each individual truck by itself?
Give me a second to collect my thoughts on that. What this appraisal is meant to perform is an asset appraisal, not necessarily a business valuation report. And so the appraisal here reflects the market value of the assets.
Okay. And on page 15, you summarize the trucks that are the subject of your report.
Yep,
And then you give an average age for the trucks. Do you see that?
I do.
So when you were coming up with the market valuation for the trucks, did you only look at trucks that have an average age of 84.6 months for STL and 65.8 for WJS? Or did you determine for each truck make and model year, this is what that specific make and model year would sell for?
It's the latter. So the valuation is done on an asset by asset level, where each individual asset is assigned a market value based on some of the information you listed, primarily make, model, year, and mileage. And then, so what's provided here is a summary of the entire fleet, but the actual conclusion of value is determined as the sum of the 35 individual trucks.
Okay. And you don't list anywhere in this report how much value you've attributed to each individual truck, correct?
That is not summarized in the report, but it is something that the report is a summary of the individual asset values. So those do exist, and that's what's underneath that. And the report summarizes the totals.
Okay, let me take a look at page 26 of your report. Under the subheading effective date consideration, you said that the values presented are based on a March 2025 effective date. Based on observed market trends, values would be approximately 3% higher if a December 2024 effective date had been applied. Why did you use a March 2025 effective date?
So that's not all. Scope matters are not determined by the appraiser. Those are determined by the engaging party, and we were engaged by STL Fleet Services to perform evaluation as of March 2025.
So in other words, you use March 2025 as the valuation date because that's what STL and WJS told you to do.
That's correct, and that's standard. That's standard appraisal practice. Is it's not the appraiser's determination of the effective date. That's something that is dictated by a client. That's in fact the opposite would be inappropriate under appraisal standards. But that is correct.
Okay. Why did you also go on to give an opinion as to what the value would be if a December 2024 effective date was used?
Again, sort of a question that was posed to us by our client was we were engaged to perform it as of March 2025, and then they were asking for clarification if there would be a materially different answer as of a different effective date and what our estimation would be. And so again, that was part of the scope that was dictated to us and was a question we answered within our report.
So what accounts for that difference between those valuations? Is it just changes in the overall market? Is it the fact that the trucks are being driven continuously for 3 months and their mileage and wear and tear will increase?
So when we are looking at two different effective dates, we are considering those two factors. First being market conditions and second being the physical condition or age of the underlying assets. During that period from December 2024 to March 2025, market conditions were relatively stable. It was a relatively short period and market conditions were stable. And so that 3% therefore really does primarily, is primarily driven by the additional mileage or age of the trucks being 3 months older in March 2025 than they would have been in December 2024.
So at least one of the conditions that drives the difference in the valuation is the additional mileage and wear and tear placed on the trucks, correct?
Correct. And in this case, that is the lion's share of that 3%.
So it generally drives the value down the more trucks are used and the more mileage is placed on a truck, correct?
That's right. And so we're saying that in December 2024, the value would be higher because they would have had less miles in it.
So if hypothetically you were being asked to value these trucks as of, say, July of 2024, and you know that the trucks are being continuously used in the operation of a business from July to December of 2024, would you expect that the values would have been even higher in July of 2024?
I'll go back to the two factors that we had mentioned was market conditions and physical depreciation. I can't comment on the market conditions just off the top of my head from July to December. And so setting that aside, yes, these are physically depreciating assets that as you, all else equal, as you're putting more mileage on, the value will decline over time.
Well, you said you can't do that. You can't talk about the factor of market conditions off the top of your head. But if you take a look at page 21 of your report, you give a graph that I believe shows the value of construction equipment in general.
Yep.
Let's get there and then we can take a look at it together. What does that graph tell you about the market trend for the value of construction equipment in general from the period of May of 2024 through March of 2025?
May of 2024 through March of 2025. So on a fair market value basis, you see a moderate decline. However, what I would just caution here is this is a value index for general construction equipment, not necessarily exactly the specific mix of trucks in fleet, which is, this is meant to be a general guidance, not sort of meant to infer a appraisal conclusion as of a different effective date. Our appraisal conclusion as of the effective date as written in the report is we give, again, what's sort of formally written here, an opinion of fair market value as of March 2025. We've also formally written a, estimation of value as of December 2024. And this other piece of information is good as a loose guide to market conditions over that period. But I would caution, making a direct inference based on that.
Okay, let me show you, I'm going to switch gears for a moment. I'm going to talk about the settlement agreement between the parties. Let me show you what is marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 5. This is a settlement agreement between your clients, STL and WJS, and my clients, CAST and TCW. You didn't participate in the negotiation of this settlement agreement, did you?
I did not. This is my first time seeing this.
So you wouldn't know what the parties subjectively intended when they entered into this settlement agreement, did you?
No.
And you're not being asked to opine on what the terms of any of this agreement mean, are you?
No.
Nothing further.
All right, redirect.
Thank you, Henry. So, Mr. Chesterton, please give the court some background about how your business model works, what kind of data you have coming in that your
Yep.
process relies on.
Yeah, so Rouse Appraisals LLC is a subsidiary of a company called Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers, who is the largest seller of used construction equipment, trailers, trucks, industrial assets in the United States. Additionally, we have partnerships with major truck dealerships throughout North America, where they're private party transactions. When a dealership is selling a used Freightliner Cascadia to one of their customers, that's information that is flowing into our proprietary database, where we believe we have the largest and most robust database of comparable transactions for the assets that are subject to this appraisal. And so our business has been, Rouse Appraisals has been doing business for over 20 years throughout North America for financial institutions, operating entities, providing appraisals of this nature.
Let me pull up his report real quick, please. I'm going to take you back to page 12 of your report. Under methodology, it says Rouse receives over $52 billion in equipment sales transaction data annually. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. So there's a large database that you're relying on to establish the valuations for the equipment that are being appraised.
That's correct.
Okay. And when counsel asked you about, an appraisal being an estimate, is there any other method out there to achieve a valuation other than a professional opinion of value?
No, so I have a